Edward Burtynsky is a Canadian photographer who started out as a painter and was kind of working with landscapes. That didn't last particularly long because he did kind of find himself in a situation where he felt like he was not um, innovating. There's not much you can do with a landscape that has not already been done. Um, and so he starts taking photographs, and he starts kind of a project that he's going to probably work on for the rest of his life. He's certainly been working on it for many decades at this point, which involves um, man-made incursions into the natural landscape, and that is the biggest. That's a big idea in the biggest possible sense of it being a big idea. He's made a study of this, of the way in which humankind has um, affected the earth um, in a broad variety of different ways. In its simplest form, we have these kind of amazingly minimalistic photographs of rail cuts in which we see these grand rock formations that are kind of linearly cut across with railroad tracks and power lines and things like that. Um, Edward Burtynsky does work with diptychs a lot, diptychs being kind of two photographs um, that are displayed together as a single work of art, right? Um, and so we'll see that format come up time and time again. But his study extends to industry and how industry changes the landscape. Um, and kind of large mining incursions, like the way in which people kind of cut into stone to in mining operations. And then his work continues to evolve. He did a, um, a series of photographs in China where he kind of really studied the way in which people were in one way or another becoming part of the landscape. So not necessarily um, the way in which industry is changing the natural landscape itself, but how kind of large groups of people have become kind of part of the earth. And one interesting point about Edward Burtynsky is that he's certainly very careful to say that he is not necessarily indicting any industry in particular. Um, he doesn't necessarily, he's an environmentalist and he's trying to make sure that we take care of the planet. But this is not just a doom and gloom approach to conservation. I think in his work, what he's trying to do instead is rather um, get us somewhere where we can find a balance that's going to work not only for the planet but also for the people. So if Edward Burtynsky was in our class, trying to figure out what his big idea was going to be for his thesis project, it would probably be something like man-made incursions into the natural landscape, or the way in which people have kind of become part of the planet.